1965 was the year the radio lost control. Songs got louder, bands got stranger, and the rules got thrown straight out the window. Today, we're going to explore the 10 biggest hits of 1965. The songs that dominated the charts, defined the decade, and left marks so deep that we still feel them today. Let's begin. Number 10, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, The Rolling Stones. In the summer of 1965, while the British invasion conquered America, a riff came to Keith Richards in a dream. He woke up in a hotel room in Clearwater, Florida, grabbed a cassette recorder, played one phrase, and fell back asleep. That phrase became the opening riff of Satisfaction. The next morning, he had no memory of it. He heard snoring, those 3 notes, then more snoring. The Rolling Stones took that riff into RCA Studios in Hollywood, and Keith wanted to replace it with horns. He thought the guitar was too raw. But the band kept the fuzz tone like a broken radio, while Mick Jagger wrote lyrics about commercialism, frustration, and desire. Released in June 1965, it shot to number 1 and stayed there for 4 weeks. Satisfaction is not just a song. It is the sound of a man waking from a dream and realizing he had captured lightning in a bottle. Sometimes, the greatest art comes from moments we cannot remember creating. Number 9, For Your Love, The Yardbirds. In 1965, a band from London was torn apart by a single song. For Your Love by the Yardbirds. Written by Graham Gouldman, later of 10cc, it was a deliberate attempt to write a pop hit. Harpsichord, bongos, a bridge that sounded like Bach. It was strange and unlike the blues covers the Yardbirds had been playing in London clubs. Their lead guitarist was Eric Clapton, a blues purist who lived for the blues. When he heard For Your Love, he walked out of the studio. He told the band he was leaving. He could not play a pop song with harpsichords and bongos. On March 13, 1965, Clapton quit the Yardbirds. He recommended Jimmy Page, but Page declined. So the band hired Jeff Beck, willing to experiment. For Your Love reached number 3 in the UK and number 6 in the US. It is the song that set off a chain reaction, sending 3 guitar gods on real paths that reshaped rock forever. Number 8, Yesterday, The Beatles. Paul McCartney woke up with a melody in his head that he was sure he had stolen. He played it on the piano, recorded it, and spent the next month asking everyone if they recognized it. He played it for John Lennon, George Martin, and the other Beatles. Nobody had heard it before. The melody came in a dream, fully formed. He called it Scrambled Eggs while searching for lyrics, singing about scrambled eggs as a placeholder. Then, driving through Portugal with Jane Asher, the words came. Yesterday. Recorded at Abbey Road in June 1965, it was the first Beatles recording to feature only one member, Paul, alone with guitar and a string quartet. The other Beatles did not play on it. Yesterday became the most covered song in history, but Paul wrote it at 23, already mourning the past. Yesterday is not just a song, it is a premonition. A man saying goodbye to youth before it ended.
Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Number 7, I Got You, Babe, Sonny and Cher.
'Cause you got me, baby, I got you.
A man sat in a Laurel Canyon garage with an $85 piano that had 3 broken keys and wrote a song that would change his life and the woman sleeping nearby. Sonny Bono had tried to break into music for years. Then, one night, He sat at that broken piano and wrote, "I Got You, Babe." He woke Cher up and asked her to sing it. She was shy, reluctant, and could barely read his handwriting, but she sang it. They recorded it at Gold Star Studios in 1965, with a sound part wall of sound, part folk protest, part pop confection. Ahmet Ertegun wanted to release "It's Gonna Rain," but Sonny believed in "I Got You, Babe." The song shot to #1, and Sonny and Cher became faces of mid-60s youth culture. But Sonny controlled her career, finances, and image. "I Got You, Babe" is not just a love song. It is about need, dependence, and love turning into control.
I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
Number 6. Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan.
Like a rolling stone.
In June 1965, a 24-year-old folk singer walked into a New York studio with a 6-minute song that changed history. Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. It began as a rant Dylan wrote after returning from England, exhausted and bitter. At Columbia Studios, the first takes were a disaster. The band tried it in waltz time, with Dylan on piano, pounding chords that went nowhere. Then Bobby Gregg drove the snare into 4/4, and everything clicked. But the real accident was Al Cooper. A guitarist who talked his way into the session, he slipped onto the organ bench when nobody was looking. He had never played organ like that. When Dylan heard it, he told the engineer to turn it up. Released in July 1965, it reached #2. Radio played all 6 minutes. At Newport, Dylan plugged in and was booed. Rock became literature. How does it feel? The rules were gone, and a generation wrote. Number 5. California Girls, The Beach Boys. In 1965, Brian Wilson was already under pressure. He was 23, the creative force behind the Beach Boys, and after leaving touring, he was determined to build something bigger in the studio. California Girls was born from that obsession. A song not just about girls on the beach, but about a fantasy of America, a West Coast paradise where the sun shone and real-world problems did not exist. The opening, those orchestral chords like a symphony warming up, was inspired by Bach and the Four Freshmen, the vocal group Brian worshipped as a child. Recorded in 1965 with session musicians and Beach Boys harmonies, California Girls reached #3 on Billboard. But Brian Wilson was unraveling. The pressure to create the perfect sound in his head was destroying him. California Girls is not just a pop song. It is a postcard from a paradise that never existed, written by a man falling apart.
I've been all around this great big world and I've seen all.
Number 4. My Girl, The Temptations.
I've got sunshine.
In 1964, Smokey Robinson saw David Ruffin sing in Detroit and knew he had found something special. Ruffin had joined the Temptations in January, but the group was still struggling. Smokey Robinson and Ronald White wrote My Girl as an answer to My Guy, the hit Smokey had written for Mary Wells. He wrote it with David Ruffin's voice in his head. The opening guitar riff, those 2 notes like a heartbeat, was played by Robert White at Motown's Hitsville, USA.
I don't need no money. What you
Recorded in 1964 and released in December, it exploded in 1965. It reached #1 in March and became the Temptations' first million seller. But David Ruffin was also arrogant, paranoid, and addicted to cocaine. In 1968, he was fired from the group he had made famous. In 1991, Ruffin died of a drug overdose. My Girl is not just a love song. It is the sound of a voice too powerful to be contained and too broken to be saved.
with my girl. Talking about.
Number 3. Mr. Tambourine Man, The Byrds. A folk singer named Bob Dylan wrote a song 4.5 minutes long, in waltz time, and entirely unsuitable for radio. Then, a band from Los Angeles got hold of a demo, and everything changed. The Byrds had played clubs, but Roger McGuinn had seen A Hard Day's Night and bought a Rickenbacker 12-string. He wanted to put a Beatle beat to folk songs. When they heard Mr. Tambourine Man, they cut it to 2.5 minutes, changed it to 4/4, added Beatles-like harmonies, and a guitar that chimed like a church bell. The only Byrd who played on the recording was McGuinn. The rest were session musicians, including Hal Blaine and Larry Knechtel. Released in April 1965, it shot to #1 and created folk rock. Mr. Tambourine Man is not just a cover. It is a song never meant for radio, proving radio did not know what it needed. That chiming guitar is the sound of a genre being born. Number 2. My Generation, The Who. In 1965, a group of mods in London were asked to write a song that spoke for their generation. Pete Townsend worked it out on acoustic guitar when the words came, "I hope I die before I get old." It was not a death wish, it was a declaration of war against the old world. The manager loved it, but told Townsend to give it more oomph. So they added John Entwistle's bass solo, Keith Moon's explosive drums, and Roger Daltrey's stutter, like a machine gun jamming. Fade away. Recorded at IBC Studios in October 1965, My Generation was produced by Shel Talmy to capture the violence of The Who live. Released in November, it became their first top 5 hit in England and was briefly banned by the BBC. My Generation is not just an anthem, it is a promise that could not be kept. A song about youth and rebellion that outlived the youth and became the soundtrack to an aging generation. Number 1. I Got You, I Feel Good, James Brown. In 1964, James Brown recorded I Got You and thought it was good enough to release. King Records thought otherwise, and the song was shelved during a legal dispute. But James Brown would not accept no. He performed it live again and again, refining it, tightening it, making it sharper with every show. By 1965, Sid Nathan took Brown to Criteria Studios in Miami, drawn by its console. The session exploded. Brown's opening scream, that iconic yelp like a man electrocuted, was Brown being Brown. The horn section fired like a brass army, while Jimmy Nolan chopped rhythms that defined funk for decades. I Got You reached number 3 on the Hot 100 and topped R&B for 6 weeks. It was not just a hit, it was survival. A man knocked down 1,000 times, standing up and telling the world he was still here, still moving, still feeling good. And now tell me, how old were you? And what were you doing when you first heard these songs? Tell me in the comments. We'll read them. And the most exciting thing is that 1965 was just the beginning. We already covered the 10 biggest hits of 1967, and trust me, you do not want to miss what came next. I'll see you there, my rock-loving friend.